My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm an associate real estate broker in the state of Alaska, and my mission, as always, is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching in real estate. Today, we're going to be talking about what is going on as far as employment for the next decade. So this is going to be information coming from the Alaska Trends magazine. This is a resource provided from the state of Alaska itself. And it really does shed light on what the projections are for employment in Alaska, for the next decade. So this is really interesting stuff, and it's going to be about as official as it comes. Now, that's not the same thing as accurate, and we'll talk about that in a little bit here. But it is something that is something we should definitely pay attention to. And there are some interesting trends here I do want to bring to light that's going to be important to you if you're considering moving to Alaska anytime within the next decade. Before we get started with that, though, do make sure you give this video a like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and let's go and jump into today's video. Now, first off, the Alaska Trends magazine issue we're going to be looking at is for October 2024. And keep in mind, the data that they're going to be going off of is going to be the stuff that they can actually verify. And unfortunately, that's usually from about a year, maybe even a year and a half, 2 years previously. So this is going to kind of feel like old information to a certain extent, the stuff that I'm going to be talking about here for a little bit, but just bear with me. Now, the first thing that they are looking at here is really talking about how the state has pretty much recovered from where we were prior to COVID, because there's a lot of industries that obviously disproportionately did suffer as a result of COVID. Hospitality, even oil, gas, stuff like that, mining, those all took a pretty drastic hit, and they're only just now starting to actually recover. Well, not actually recover. They're starting to return to where they were prior to 2019. But let's go and take a look at just the projections for the future here of 2022 to 2032, and kind of talking about some of the remaining recovery. We'll get to more of that in just a minute. First off, their projections looking at, really looking at 2022, where we're pretty much recovered from COVID at that point, to 2032. We're seeing approximately 22,000 new jobs added, which does mean 22,000 jobs across the entire state, which does mean we're actually seeing projected about a 7% increase for the job opportunities up here in Alaska. And we can go ahead and go through this chart here. Oil and gas, only really contributes about 2,700 of those jobs. We see construction for buildings and such, only about 100 and about 160 services. We see that at about approximately 16,000, transportation and warehousing about 2,100, and education and health services right around 6,700, healthcare associates and public service sector about 5,600, leisure and hospitality about 3,100, and then total government, not surprisingly, the government positions, number of those are going up by about 1,000. Now, really what stands out to me is while we see increases in some of these areas, we're also seeing decreases in others. Because, obviously I just rattled off some of those numbers, and, 22,000, we just blew past that pretty easily just with the big numbers I gave you. But we have other sectors that are actually seeing some decreases in the job opportunities that are likely to be available. For instance, in utilities, we're seeing about 600 jobs probably aren't going to be available. Information went down about 200. And finances and insurance, again, we saw a decrease of about 200. And actually, let me look at this real quick, because I think actually, let me see here, because I think actually they did have something on real estate services in here. Oh yeah, real estate services and leasing. That's actually projected to go down in the near future, not by much, but still, it's not a big workforce really to begin with. But yeah, the projections are that is going to be going down moving forward. Now, the next thing we want to know is who are the big winners and who are the big losers in the projections going forward into the next decade. Well, what we see here is that the big winners are, just looking at the years of 2022 to 2032, we see that the healthcare I'm sorry, just looking at the total number of jobs, because they have this broken up in a couple different ways. They have percentage-wise, and they also have the total number of jobs. I don't know about you, the industries that are going to show a lot of job growth percentage-wise are going to be the ones that were kind of small to begin with. Like, it's pretty rare that you have a big industry and then you increase by 20%. And we really want to look at the industries that are offering the total number of jobs, not just the highest percentage, because again, that just means it's kind of a smaller industries. They're adding like small numbers that percentage-wise are going to look big. So we want to look at the industries that are offering the most jobs out there. So by looking at that, we see that healthcare and social assistance and the private sector definitely did see the biggest increase percentage-wise. You can kind of see here on the chart here. Now, they do have the light blue that represents the growth that we have from 2019 prior to COVID, and then the dark blue shows 2020 after COVID and kind of recovered from COVID to 3032. So what we do see here is that even for the pre-COVID numbers we see here, we are seeing a pretty nice little increase for the healthcare and social assistance. So that's really good if that's kind of your thing. We see mining includes oil and gas. You know, we're seeing a bit of an increase even from 2019, but obviously you see there's big uptick if we're looking just at 2022 because there was such a sloughing off of the industry during that time period. And then you had the administration came in that just wasn't that friendly towards Alaska developing its resources. And so it's kind of been a long road to recovery as far as our oil and gas industry up here. Now, the next thing that we're going to see here is going to be the transportation and housing. And I mean, that does kind of make sense. Alaska is a really big hub as far as transportation of resources. Well, not just the resources, but just as shipping and everything goes, just because of geographically where we're located. And it doesn't surprise me that we are going to start seeing an uptick in far as the warehousing and the transportation as well. So if that's, I guess, industry you're coming from, Alaska might be calling your name. All right, the last one, as far as the biggest winners that I want to look at here, is going to be construction. And what's interesting about this is you see the years from 2019 to 2020, either one of those dates that we're looking at, there's really not much of a difference as far as how much growth we're looking at by the year of 2032, and that's because most of the construction kind of kept going more or less on pace after the pandemic, and that's because most of the construction actually happened over in the Mat-Su Valley, where they had far fewer restrictions because of COVID than places like Anchorage. So not a huge surprise there, but yes, if you're handy, you have kind of the hard skills of being a contractor or a handyman, then the good opportunity. You're going to have plenty of options once you get up here to Alaska. All right, looking at this same chart, I want to know who are going to be the biggest losers as, if we're just looking at the 10-year projections here, which industries are going to have probably the biggest losses moving forward? Well, what we're looking at here is that information is seeing I think that's actually about a 17% decrease as far as job opportunities are available, followed by finance and insurance. That also took a pretty sizable cut, anywhere from about 3% to about 8%, depending on if we're looking at 2019 as a start or 2022. So that's that's pretty unfortunate. And then also we want to look at agriculture, forestry, fishing, and hunting. We did see that it's pretty much the same. If we looked at 2019, we're seeing a slight decrease, though, of probably about 2 to 3% if we're looking at that start date of being 2022, that we started really keeping track of it. Now, also, we want to take a look here at some of the other industries not recovered at all from 2019. Give me just a second here. Yeah, we're looking at industries that are also just not recovered like at all. We see that art, design, entertainment, sports, media, that's not doing very well at all. Education, instruction, and library, that's seeing a decrease of about 3%. And then legal, you're also seeing about a 3% decrease as well. So those are kind of your industries that you're getting into. Just be aware it might be a bit of an uphill battle. Last but not least, I'm going to go and read off some of the occupations that are in decline for you. And then I'm also going to give you the occupations that are seeing the highest level of growth, at least percentage-wise. So looking at the broadcasting and looking at the industries that are in decline, I'm just going to give you the top three. I'll let you go through this on your own. But what we see here is broadcast announcers and radio disc jockeys. I actually did see about anywhere, I'm just going to say about a 19% decrease. Looking at news analysts, reporters, and journalists, again, about 19%. Logging equipment operators saw about a 25% decrease, and advertising sales agents saw about 15% down. Loan officers, that's a little bit more in my industry, saw about 8% down. Insured sales agents, about 3%. Yeah, so I mean, you can kind of just go through here and see there's definitely a moving away from a lot of the white collar kind of occupations out there that are based a little bit more on knowledge of a lot of white collar stuff. Sorry, there's not a whole lot of good ways to put that. But these are going to be the folks that don't necessarily have those hard skills of being able to do construction or a lot of the handyman stuff. And that's kind of the industries we see that are projected to kind of start suffering in the coming decade. All right, if you don't believe me though, let's take a look at the occupations where we're seeing the highest growth rate moving forward. So looking at, let's see. Yeah, I'm going to go for just looking at the growth of 2022 to 2032, and we see helpers, extraction workers, about a 25% increase. Hazardous materials removal workers, about 18%. Welders, cutters, salters, and brazers, about 17%. Geological technicians, hydraulic techs, about 17%. Underground mining operators, other, about 16%. And look at that. Look like healthcare squeaked in there. Home health and personal care aides, about 16%. And I mean, I can keep going there, but you do kind of get the point that if you have those skills of being, a handyman or a contractor, something more in that vein, you're going to have more opportunities than you're going to have if you're just coming up here with a strictly white collar background. If you're just coming up here with a degree, that may or may not knock down the door for you like you were expecting. All right, well, let's go and take a break here real quick, either from the doom and gloom or the elation, just depending on what your skill set is. Just wanted to remind you folks real quick, I do have a relocation guide for those of you considering moving to Alaska. If that's something that would benefit you, do make sure you go to my website. Link for that is in the description section down below. And go ahead and register to the website, but make sure you put relocation guide in the comments section and include your email, because I don't know how I'm supposed to get a relocation guide to you that's PDF without the email. So put your email in there so I can send that over to you. And yeah, I'd be happy to send that over, and go ahead and put your phone number in there as well. I'd be more than happy to give you a call real quick, chat, and get your specific questions answered. Now, let's go and finish up today's video, and we'll take a look and kind of dive a little bit deeper into this Alaska trends to give you an idea if Alaska is going to be in the cards for you or not based on your current skill set. I'm going to let you go ahead and take a deep dive into this article yourself, because they actually did a really good job in this article, kind of making a lot of the language just very digestible and easy to understand. So there's really no sleight of hand or academia mumbo jumbo in here. It's actually very accessible. So I'll let you go ahead and take a deep dive into it. But there are a couple things that I do want to point out. Number one, they did a good job on kind of showing, okay, these are the number of jobs that we see coming in that are, indicating growth for the state. In other words, this job did not exist a decade ago, and now this industry has grown so much, we did have to hire more people. And also showing, okay, how many of these job openings are here just because somebody quit and they just went and found some other job somewhere. So it looks like a job was created. In reality, the employer is just filling a position that was just vacated by somebody who quit. And what we see there is the vast majority of those openings are actually being created by people who are just quitting and going to work somewhere else. I think it's only like 8 or so, maybe percent of the overall jobs that are available are actually being created like brand new, just because there's so much growth. So that is something that they should keep in mind. Yes, the numbers do show that there is an increase, but also you have to keep in mind that just because there's an increase doesn't necessarily mean a new position was open. Sometimes people were just vacating. Another thing to keep in mind too is most of these positions, once you start peeling back some of the layers here, most of these positions are going to be entry-level positions. And you really see this when you start looking at what kind of education requirements are required for the jobs that we're looking at. The vast majority of them, are going to require just like a diploma, maybe a bachelor's, but it's going to be just a high school diploma, no formal education at all. And then like 1% of the actual job openings that are available actually require some kind of a PhD or a master's degree. And so you really see that, if you're looking for or expecting that vibrant workforce that just has all this demand for a lot of highly qualified people in the white collar space, that's probably just not going to be your experience. This is really the market for people who have those hard skills. And that's not to say you can't find something, you can't get those positions up here if white collar is really just kind of the nature of your skill set, but it is saying you're going to be swimming upstream, I should say. So where does this leave us? Well, like I said, you really just have to do a lot of searching here and make sure you understand that you may or may not be swimming upstream with whatever your skill set is. If you have those hard skills, you're a contractor or a handyman, or you can manage people on a site like that, there's really good chances that you're going to be absolute shoe in it up here, and you're going to be able to always find something. If that's not your skill set, then it is something you have to really do a lot of soul searching on and just understand, hey, I'm probably not going to have as many opportunities up here as I would, even looking forward to the future in the next 10 years or so. Yes, there's going to be some growth, but also majority of that growth, at least according to the Alaska Trends magazine, is probably going to be coming more from the entry-level positions and not really coming from a lot of high-level, high-octane positions that are really going to satisfy a lot of career-driven people. So I sure hope I didn't deflate a lot of dreams today. I hope you're just walking away a little bit more informed. I will say, as long as you are motivated and you know what it is that you want to do and you do a good job, you have a great reputation, you're going to be able to find something up here. It just might not be exactly what it is that you thought you were going to get. If you have more questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to give whatever insight and experiences I've had, at least on this front. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.